everyone, Ivy Lee Gaming here, and today we're playing Dragonheir Silent Gods. For today's video, we're going to do a guide on the Grave of Curse, an updated guide for Season 1. Today's video is sponsored by Dragonheir Silent Gods, my favorite sponsor because it's my favorite game that I've played in a long time. Be sure to join us for Season 3, Dive Deep, Battle Peak. There's a ton of new heroes, new bosses, and lots to explore. Be sure to download via Android, iOS, Mac, PC, Steam, or Epic Games if you haven't already, and use the currently working promo codes. Alright, so we're going to go in here on my free-to-play account. I'm only on day 14, and I'm a little bit behind where I should be if I kept up the whole time. But yeah, let's get into it. I am going to say hello here and then get rid of my face to make it easier for showing the content. But yeah, I just progressed a little bit in the story. I'm not super high into the Grave of Curse yet, but we're going to talk about the strategy for how to beat the boss, what heroes you need, like who are the keys, is there timings or positioning that matters, and we're going to quickly talk about the gear sets for the season as well. Alright, so Grave of Curse. This is not incredibly difficult dungeon, but it does require some specific roles if you can't just blast through it once you have like high level 100 fancy geared heroes. You do need some strategy here. So before we get into the strategy, let's take a look at the gear. So we now have mythic gear added to season 1. Keep in mind that the mythic gear that's all been added is related to stuff is more, I think, with season 3 in mind. Some of them seem very specific for based on it being season 3, but they did add it to season 1 as well. Currently, it's not in season 2, which is a little confusing, but maybe they'll add that soon. They'll adjust the season content. But season 1, we now have mythic gear, and this is some really good stuff. You have really strong reasons to farm for this gear, because especially if you're using someone. Well, honestly, anyone that is a healer or a shielder could benefit from this gear. This is the main one I'm talking about, Moonlight Mantle. This is a chest that there's a 50% chance for the wearer to grant 50% increased healing and shield effects. That's huge. So like in my season 3 account, I'm trying to get an attack percentage one for Cinderella, which is not happening. But this is also amazing if you can get a defense one or defense percentage one for Garius, for example, or honestly, literally any healer. Why not? This is just going to improve their healing dramatically. And then there's also this set here, Supreme Blessing. When the wearer gains a buff, there is a 50% chance for the buff to be undispellable. So this is only necessary, obviously, in certain content where the enemy is removing buffs from you. So that would definitely be like mostly an arena focused thing, so to speak. Our legendary sets for this season are Ancestral Protection, which the wearer takes 15% less of the damage. Otherwise, it would be taken by allies while gaining 15% damage reduction. So you can have this on a hero just for the sake of the damage reduction as well. Only one character may trigger the damage redirection effect for the same team. So if you have multiple people in Ancestral Protection, you're not splitting up the damage mitigation. Keep that in mind. But you can have that one other, like one of the heroes will just get a damage reduction. So it's not, you don't need two people in it. There's also this Radiance of the Blue Oak. This is a self-heal set that starts with Enlightenment and HP. Heals the hero by 20% max HP after the wearer unleashes their ultimate skill. So I always consider this the perfect set, like the set for Sifris, who is a epic reviver and healer. She has like a self-sacrifice where she sacrifices her HP when she uses her ultimate and battle skill. So she really needs to have another healer on the team. But if you have her in a good Radiance of Blue Oak set, then she can self-heal. So I think a perfect combo would be the Radiance of Blue Oak set plus the mythic chest eventually. And then yeah, that's kind of the main thing here. Epic stuff is the typical where we have defense and HP and then enlightenment and HP. So that's kind of where we're at as far as gear goes. let's go ahead in here and take a look at the boss. So, Grave of Curse. Okay, actually, let's look at the stages first. So stages 1, 2, 3 do not drop epic. Starting stage 4, you can get the epic gear. Starting stage 7, you can start getting legendary gear and materials, of course. And then mythics start at stage 10 for chances to drop the mythics. So there are 12 stages and all of the newer content for season 1, which is why I'm remaking this guide. A lot has changed, so it's time for an updated guide. Speaking of which, if you haven't already seen, I've made guides for Grave of Venom and the Flame Domain, plus there's a video of the deep dive into the Goblin layer, so you can check those out if you haven't already, and I will make future videos for the other dungeons as well. But let's go into, so we'll look from stage 1 so we can see the information of what the game suggests. It shows these suggestions on the bottom. So first, the boss, immune to control effects, of course, but you can decrease its like ultimate energy or use recharging speed penalty against him. So he gains a buff, 2 buffs, and these buffs are huge. They make him do a lot more damage. It's really important to get rid of or prevent those buffs. That can be the key in this fight. And then we have just dealing basic damage to a single target. And then we have an AoE smash where he deals damage to all enemies and gains a shield based on 80% of the damage dealt. So we need heroes that have attack penalty. You want to make sure that attack penalty is going to go off when the boss does its before the boss does his ultimate. You could have defense up and damage reduction skills or buffs on your heroes to prevent the boss from doing as much damage. You also buff prohibition or dispelling of buffs to deal with his first skill. That's kind of key as well. This was like a great spot where a Voresh is amazing to deal with the buffs and prevent them. Or you can use plenty of other heroes, which I'm going to show you my budget version of what I'm doing. If you're using a team with like Sigrid, Dane is going to be really great pairing, which I actually just pulled a Dane after I built another budget option to deal with the buffs, ironically, as well. So when it comes to the ultimate here, we are going to try to prevent this shield from getting as big as possible. So preventing the shield from being huge, you want to prevent the damage dealt. So what you can have on your allies is a shield. Shield is amazing. If you use your Ice Adventurer to use their ultimate before this boss's ultimate, then you can have shields on your heroes, and that does not count as damage dealt when you go against a shield. That's really key for this skill. Also, just having, again, the damage mitigation type stuff like attack penalty on the boss, defense up on your heroes, this type of stuff is a really good idea. Plus, you want to make sure that these buffs you put up, you dispel them or you have prevented them before the boss does the ultimate, because you don't want the boss to do the ultimate when it has 30% attack up and damage up buffs on him. So that's another option. The other option for dealing with this is a hero that dispels shields. Now, there's not a lot of those in Season 1. By the time you get to Season 3, there's some more options there, but there's not a lot that deal with it for Season 1. So let's go ahead in here and take a look. Before we go into the boss, let's take a quick look at the heroes that are going to be good for that. So we're going to go up to our filter here. And the biggest thing, I think, buff prohibition is really strong, as they show. So Ferrara is a good example of a buff prohibition and a removal of buffs. She's really perfect for this boss. She's probably an underrated option that people forget about. And Voresh is probably the best option, honestly. Liko's too niche and weird. I don't like using her in most content. I hope they fix her one of these days. All right, but we have dispelling of buffs. So Dane can actually dispel buffs, like I mentioned. He can dispel 2 buffs, which is what the boss does. 100% chance to do that. But he only places a small version of attack penalty, which is a bummer, which is why I've never liked him. But in this season where I am going to be pushing my fire and poison synergy again, and now that we know how good Sigrid is, Dane goes perfectly with Sigrid, so we're gonna be using him this season. But there are other options as well. As you can see here, Yudakotl gets rid of shields with her battle skill, so she's an amazing option there, plus dispelling of a buff. It's only one buff though, so keep in mind that boss puts up 2 buffs, so she's not going to deal with both. And you're going to have to hope that the timing is okay for sake of dispelling the shield. When it comes to rares, there are a lot of buff removers here as well. So that's interesting to see. I forget that Irina even does that. She dispels 1 buff. So you could have a combination of like Irina and Yudakotl if you're working with the Lightning Radiance synergy, or at least some of your supports are Lightning Radiance. Or whatever, honestly. Irina could be a great option versus this boss because she does bring you attack penalty to the big version, plus 1 buff removal. So you could time that to make sure that's going off before the ultimate. I think those are kind of the best options there. There's also Garana here, who can dispel buffs. Where is it? Oh yeah, dispels 1 buff with her basic attack. So that's pretty cool. Now, there's another option here that's not showing up that I realized is kind of silly. They don't just both show up. Stealing buffs. So this is where Grover comes in. I actually built Grover just for this role. He steals a random buff. He hits twice and steals a random buff. And then here, his battle skill, he attacks 2 times and steals ultimate energy. So that can be helpful as well. So I actually used Grover in this fight myself right before I pulled Dane, ironically. Of course, I built Grover and even put skill books into him, or scrolls into him, before I pulled Dane, because that's how the universe works. So those are some really big keys for beating the boss, or again, shields. So if you have a hero that can put up a shield, I guess special effects are shields. There's a lot of amazing shield heroes in the game. Felocia's the OP option, especially early on. I think Chrysos does shields for all allies as well, right? Ally with the lowest HP. Yeah. Dispels all shields. Oh no. Okay. Yeah. Alright, ultimate. Yes, Chrysos is another solid option. If you were around for the Elminster collab, he's really great as well. I guess I could point out Adolphus is another amazing shield hero. Or we have Isolde as well. So these heroes can have them use their shield before the boss does their ultimate. They're probably the stronger options. Yudakotl has shields that she places on people as well. Or no, it's not a shield. It's not, where is it? Oh, it's only the single target. I always think she does full shields. She does not. My brain forgot that one. Here, for each enemy hit by the skill, a shield increases. So we have Nathaniel with shields as well. There's a bunch of really cool shield heroes, but not quite as many as we have options for, of course, now. But you still can really play around and experiment with your lineup. Gladros does really well when you build him with a strong attack focus for his shields. And that could help to, again, mitigate the damage. You want to have if you have a shield on your enemies when the boss attacks, the boss is doing less damage. So that's how that works. All right, let's go ahead and I'm just going to do the stage 6 that I was stuck at in one of the trial pages. So this was one of the milestones as you're going through your pages, collecting those Heliolite die. I might as well show you my team. Let's load it in. So this is my team that I was working with. We have Megan in here for healer and support. Sigrid has this to help boost her timing so she can have attack penalty up for the boss. Grover is on Witch's Remains because he steals, or he hits twice, so he's an okay candidate for that. I have Tunnelnon as my main DPS, but Sigrid is also going to do a good job, and Horus is my tank and focus here. So not super high levels, so we're not pushing like the highest levels of Grave of Curse yet, but it's okay. I just have Grover timed in the beginning just to go after the initial skill, like right before. So Grover's gonna go before the boss does the ultimate here and make sure we steal the buffs, and then he's going to kind of always be in a loop to where he's removing the buffs that the boss puts up sometime after he places them. It's not perfect, But that's the only one that I timed for this fight. So I'm going to go ahead in here. I think I used the HP aura. It might have been the accuracy one. If you're not sure if you have enough accuracy, you can always check that here. We do need 100 accuracy for this fight. And also this is yelling at me saying I need more gear at level 16. And I don't have anyone with buff prohibition. But hey, it's alright. We're going to steal some buffs as well. But it would be better to prevent the buffs too. So I don't have many heroes that do that at the moment. So I will be replacing Grover with Dane once I build him. I just got him. I haven't built him yet. And I obviously haven't scrolled him yet either. I might have to scroll him because I'm going to need to use him with Sigrid a lot. Where he goes before Sigrid and then Sigrid goes after when I'm dealing with multiple enemies. But you could see the shield there was not too bad for this boss when he puts up a shield with his ultimate. Alright, let's see. Grover is going to remove the buff. Come on, Grover. Go steal. Boom. Alright, he only stole one, so the boss still has one up, right? And see, the shield is there. Like, ideally, the shield should be smaller. In a perfect world, I probably would throw in... I don't know, maybe... I can't say instead of Megan, because we need healing. But maybe instead of Tananon in a slower fight, I could have the Ice Adventurer in here with shields to go before the boss does that ultimate. See, if the boss does the ultimate, when you have shields up, you're really not taking much damage, so his shield is going to be smaller. That's kind of the key here. But I'm really excited to add Dane to the mix because he's going to remove 2 buffs with his ultimate. So I can definitely time that, and he'll do a little bit better than Grover. See, Grover now is out of sync already, so it's a little bit messy. I probably should have timed it a little bit sooner. This fight's a little longer than I realized, so I should start Grover's timing a little bit earlier than right before the ultimate. Because the timing just totally falls out of sync. But you can see there, boom, boom. Okay, we dispelled both buffs that time. We're okay. Megan's gonna die. Hopefully not. Poor Megan. But you could see that this is working. It's not extremely fast, but this is kind of the setup you need, is to have some of those keys to deal with all the elements. Ideally, you have shields in your team and you have buff prevention or removal. That's kind of the key versus this boss. And when it comes to positioning, it doesn't really matter. You definitely want a tank to take the main hits. But because the boss does an AoE on the ultimate, you really don't need to worry about that too much. So that's it for this boss. You're going to obviously need higher levels, better gear as you progress in higher stages. And maybe, like I mentioned, not having someone like Tananon, but maybe relying on Sigrid for damage a little bit more. And taking out Tananon and bringing in someone like the Ice Traveler that can put up shields and help mitigate the damage the boss does. But also, she's going to do decent damage herself, or he, depending on what you made for your character. But yeah, that has been the Grave of Curse boss. I'm looking forward to pushing this one. I think now that I have Dane, I'm going to do a lot better. Oh wait, we can't forget to show this. We can't forget to show this, guys. So here we have the lineups of what people are actually using. So you can see Sigrid, Ice Traveler. Just like I said, Sigrid, Ice Traveler, Irina, Garius, very popular lineups, right? Horus is great as a tank. Hexandra is always great as a healer. Again, Grover, and like every team, right? Let's go into some higher stages. So we want to start looking at where we can get better gear, right? So once we get a little higher here, you're seeing Dane and Sigrid. And then Dubak also does shields. I forgot about him. He grants shields to all allies, so he's a good option if you don't have another one. Or you want to go full synergy like this guy did. Went full synergy with 5 stars, level 99s. You could have the fire if you want to take advantage of 5-man bonuses. You have Fire Traveler for damage. This is a fun little team. I like that, with Dubak and Dane dealing with the boss mechanics, and then also Sigrid is going to bring the big version of attack penalty as well. That's really nice. Again, we have Vorash, we have Ferrara, like I mentioned. Some of the key people I mentioned here you're going to see. So let's see the highest stage. So the Grave of Curse 12. with no legendary heroes. Exactly what we're saying. A good tank like Horus, Sigrid, Dane, Adolphus for shields, and a healer like Cassandra. Simple enough. Really good team. Or like, this is something I'm going to be able to do if I ever... Oh, no, I have no Adolphus. Oh, God. But these are obviously people taking advantage of the 5-man synergy at the top here. But there's some here down below that are not. They're a little bit mixed bag, right? We still have Rover involved in one here, but he's got really good gear. That's kind of the key. Remember, in this one, we're going to have Dane as... I don't know. You don't want that. That's weird, having Dane in that. But I guess it's better than nothing. Dane is just going to be here for extra support. Adolphus is going to be amazing in the Tiara. That's a smart build. But you're going to start to see these higher levels of Grave of Curse. I wouldn't expect to do them very early until you get a little bit better gear to where you could smash with legendary gear from other sets. By the way, don't level up flat stat attack gear that's legendary. Oh god, why did that person waste their gold? I mean, they did it. They did the boss, so I guess it worked. But you want attack percent once you get into this legendary gold. But alright guys, I wanted to show that. Hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Be sure to download via Android, iOS, Mac, PC, Steam, or Epic Games if you haven't already. And thanks again to Dragonheir Silent Gods for sponsoring today's video.